A failed novelist is transported to another world after failing to commit suicide with his girlfriend. Although he remains a scumbag in the other world without superpowers, he gains a power related to those from other worlds and becomes trapped in adventures with a group of weirdos in pursuit of death. On a cold, rainy day, a couple decides to commit suicide together. They tie their wrists together so they won't be separated after death. But before they can jump into the river, they are killed when they are hit by a high-speed truck. After a while, the lover called Sensei woke up and soon realized that he had moved to the world of the dead and found that he was inside a place like a church. Then he was surprised by a girl who appeared out of nowhere and greeted him. And when he asked about her identity, she told him that she guides those who end up in this world and described him as an adventurer. She says her name is Annette, then looks out the window and tells him that he has been transported to a world completely different from his home world, and that they are in a land known as Zauberberg, surrounded by darkness, a land full of monsters and strange creatures, and that he must become the hero who brings light to this world. Sensei realizes that he has failed in his double suicide and ends up in a strange world and remembers how low he was in his previous life and how pathetic his life was. Before Annette tells him about his mission in this world, she is surprised to see that he has taken a large amount of tranquilizers in order to commit suicide again. When he failed to die again, he told her to stop saving his life. She told him that he wasn't allowed to die and that he had to become the hero who would save this world. He told her that he didn't care about these things and was just looking for a place to die. Annette tells him that this world has chosen him specifically to be the hero. When he asks how he was chosen, she tells him about the truck, and he remembers that he died in his previous life after being hit by a big truck. So she tells him that this truck specializes in choosing who goes to the other world. She went on to say that the truck selects only miserable people to go to this world, which meant that he was the most miserable person in his old world. As he listened to her, he took some of the remaining pills in a desperate attempt to die again. As Annette spoke excitedly about his successful transition to this world, Sensei felt angry and approached her to blame her for ruining the most important and happy moment of his life. She wondered why he was upset after being rescued from a miserable life and about to become the hero of the new world, but she thought he might change his mind when he checked his stats. When she examined him, she was shocked to see his dismal numbers. Unlike the rest of the humans who were given the ability to have superhuman strength when they moved here, she found that his body was still poisoned even after she cleansed him and thought he was going to die again. She tried to find out the cause of his hopeless condition and whether he had any abilities, but she found nothing to give her hope and soon became discouraged. When Sensei decided to leave, she apologized to him and admitted that perhaps the wrong person had been chosen to come to this world since he did not have the ability to live in it. He smiles wryly and looks at her and tells her that this is his life in a nutshell. He's doomed to fail miserably no matter what world he lives in. Annette asks him to stay inside the church for a while so he doesn't die from the monsters outside. He told her that he was basically looking for a place to die. As he left, she felt that he was different from any other human who had come to their world and remembered how proud and happy she was of her role in guiding people from other worlds until at some point she was just a woman who kissed the hero's ass. When she felt differently about Sensei, she didn't want him to die so easily and tried to convince him to take up a profession before he left the church. He told her that he had only been able to write since birth and continued on his way out, while she sat on the floor in despair and realized that she had been waiting for such a man to come for some reason. Sensei then tried to find a quiet place to rest in peace while taking his deadly pills, but found that he couldn't read the language of this world, and suddenly a voice spoke inside his mind, telling him that he had gained 5 experience points for exploring a part of the city. He felt that he was suffering from a migraine and might die now, but suddenly he saw a strange tree moving and holding a girl hostage, and she begged him to save her, and while she was suffering, he thought that he had met many weirdos today. The girl surprised him by asking him to write a novel about her and screamed at him to save her quickly, but he told her that he couldn't reach her after he tried jumping towards her and ended up tied by the neck to the tree next to her. Sensei was grateful that he was no longer able to breathe and would soon die, while the girl was thinking of any solution before they were killed by the tree's suction power. When the tree started sucking out Sensei's life, he momentarily lost consciousness and ended up failing to die again after he managed to defeat the tree indirectly with his poison. The girl is surprised that he has such a strange ability, while Sensei is annoyed when he hears the voice telling him that his level has risen to 3. She thinks that he is pretending to be weak when he is a strong adventurer, but he tells her that this is how it works for him, surviving death as he seeks it. Then he added that he had failed to die 5 times so far. She expressed her happiness that she was still alive and did not care to know why he was so depressed, then offered to accompany him to her home to thank him in a proper way. And when she held his hand to help him get up, he remembered his lover when he saw the red thread on his wrist and wondered if she had moved to this world as well. He started walking on his way, calling out Sakin's name, while the girl tried to tell him that her name was was Tama, but he wasn't listening to her, having found a reason to live in this world, to find his girlfriend in order to commit double suicide again. Annette, on the other hand, was praying to the gods for his protection and to meet him again when she was surprised that he came back and rushed towards him, but she was shocked to find another girl with him, and even more shocked when he asked her if Sakin had moved here with him. After that, he ended up frustrated and took a lot of tranquilizers when there was no sign of her, while Tama tried to cheer him up and told him that they should go to RIZZ City, where her house is located, and suddenly Annette attacked her after she grabbed his hand. When Annette asked her why she came with them, Tama was confused and realized that she was in love with Sensei. She told her that as a nun, she was responsible for protecting weak people like him in this world, so Tama was surprised that he was from another world and realized why he was so powerful. Annette thought she was lying about his power, but she was shocked when he told her that he was able to defeat the death tree and save her life. While they were arguing about it, Sensei found a comfortable place to rest and decided to sleep in a coffin and told them to wake him up when they got to the city, and Annette ended up dragging him to RIZZ City with Tama. In the evening, Sensei wakes up after arriving in RIZZ and finds it crowded with people. Annette tells him that they have to go to the castle to meet the king, so they go to meet King Thomas and his daughter Charlotte. Thomas allowed them to stay in his castle for the day in exchange for telling him one of their memories of traveling together as adventurers. Sensei thought to tell him about falling asleep in the coffin, and the king thought he was threatening him. When Annette expressed her admiration for his daughter's beauty, he told them that she would soon be married. Then he summoned two of his followers and told them that they were the brave warrior Gomes and the wandering love singer Otto, and that one of them would have the honor of marrying Charlotte to inherit his throne and rule Ruth. He then added that his daughter had not yet made up her mind and asked them to help her choose a suitable husband. Sensei shocked him by saying that he should not ask travelers who had just arrived about his daughter's future, and that it made him unworthy of being a king. He then added that he had no right to express his opinion as he was not qualified to live in this world, and left quietly while the two girls sat down to apologize to the king for his rude manner and attract the attention of Charlotte's indifferent personality. At night, Sensei sat thinking in a restless state, interrupted by Annette's voice after she woke up. When she asked him if he had anything on his mind, he told her that he never sleeps well, and she was curious to ask him about Sakin. Before he could answer her, she noticed a long tail appearing under his blanket and was shocked to see Tama sleeping on his leg. When she started to scold her, Tama told her she was freezing cold, so Sensei left the room, leaving the two of them to argue as they pleased. When he wandered outside, he found Charlotte admiring the moon in the sky as it reflected in the lake. He admired the lake so much that he wanted to drown himself in it. She was surprised that he was suicidal, and he told her that she seemed more troubled than he was. She was confused because she couldn't decide between Otto and Gomes, as Gomes had become trusted among their soldiers even though he was new to the city, while Otto was like a childhood friend who used to write songs and sing to her when she was sad. Sensei told her that she was a nice girl who cared about her father, unlike him, who caused trouble for his family with his many suicide attempts, but even so, he didn't let anyone choose his life for him, and before he left, he told her that she had to make her own decision. The next day, Thomas summoned the three of them to witness Charlotte's crucial choice of husband. When he asked his daughter to stand in front of the man she had chosen to say her vows, everyone was shocked that she had decided to marry Sensei so that they could commit double suicide together. She then told him that she had been thinking hard all night after their conversation and realized that she couldn't marry any of them, and when her father disagreed, she called him a fool for choosing her future husband without consulting her and told him that she didn't want to get married at all. Then she added that the only person who cared about her feelings and respected her opinion was Sensei, and as he realized the reason for her decision to commit suicide with him, they found Gomes violently removing his helmet in anger and then swelling to the size of a raging bull, and it turned out that he was actually a servant of the Demon King. He told them that he was going to marry her to inherit the throne and present it to the Demon King, but Sensei ruined all his plans and now decided to annihilate everyone and attack the king's guards, while Tama didn't hesitate to rush towards him and deliver a thunderous kick to him. When she decides to fight him, Otto boosts her strength through the bar, but she notices that nothing new has happened inside her, and when Gomes seizes the opportunity, she starts to fight him cat-like, but Gomes manages to wound her with a single gnaw. Sensei intervened and asked him to take his and Charlotte's lives first since they wanted to die together. Gomes didn't mind granting their wishes, but Charlotte was confused for a moment. When he lunged at them and she felt death was closer than ever, she backed away from the idea of suicide and expressed her desire to live and protect her people. Sensei, realizing that she was indeed a good princess, pushed her away so that he could take all the damage himself. Before Gomes could reach him, Annette created a protective barrier between them to save him and told him that she would not allow him to die in her presence. She caused Gomes's horns to be destroyed, then Tama sealed the deal with her knockout blow, and he ended up falling into the lake behind the castle. Afterward, the king knelt in front of his daughter, asking for her forgiveness for his actions without considering her feelings and considering himself a failed king and father. She approached him and asked that he allow her to talk to him about the kingdom and their family from now on, and while the two were in a warm atmosphere, Sensei was frustrated by his failure to die again. After a while, Charlotte became the Queen of Ruth and ordered her soldiers to station themselves at the southern gate to exterminate the monsters that had recently appeared and were trying to break into the city. On the other hand, Annette and Tama were on their way out of the city and dragging Sensei's coffin, who expressed his admiration for Charlotte's independent personality and that she is no less beautiful than women who want to die. By evening, both girls are tired and hungry, and when Annette starts to eat, Sensei wonders if she has boiled tofu, but she has no idea what it is and decides to look for it when they get to the next town. Tama was shocked that they would have to travel all over the world and visit all 4 temples in order to gather information about the Demon King's castle. Annette told her that she didn't want Sensei to end up fighting the Demon King so that he wouldn't be in danger, and considered herself a failure when it came to guiding people from other worlds. But Sensei helped her see the light after she had given up on her job and felt it was her turn to help him. When Annette asks about Sensei's girlfriend, Tama feels frustrated and tells her that she will check whether or not she exists in this world, and then they are surprised by a bird that eats Sensei's head and causes him to bleed profusely. Annette picked it up and started scolding it since it was her assigned bird. When she asked him if he had handed in her resignation to the church, he threw it out of his mouth and she pushed him away, wondering why he came back even though he didn't fulfill the mission she had given him. The bird approached Sensei, and when he realized that it was Annette's bird, he decided to name it Melos and started flying around happily, while Sensei returned inside his coffin when he found the atmosphere outside disturbing, and Annette felt in trouble for leaving her workplace without notice. Then, to their surprise, a giant dragon appeared out of nowhere, and before it could attack them, a mysterious girl, who turned out to be its master and tamer, approached it and told them to leave the area quickly because there were a large number of monsters in the vicinity. When she saw the coffin, she thought one of their companions had died, but was surprised when Sensei came out of it. Annette apologized for scaring her, and when she told her that he was just a freak from another world, she took off her robe and revealed her intention to get rid of all those from other worlds. Annette tried to block her with her shield while Sensei stood there, accepting death with open arms. Her attack caused massive damage around them, and when the 2 girls tried to get back up to protect him, Annette was shocked to see the mark on her chest, which turned out to be the Demon Queen. The Demon Queen then used her magic to subdue Annette and Tama in front of her, preventing them from moving. Before she could harm them, Sensei approached her and told her that he was her opponent and that she shouldn't target the girls for him because he was trying to die anyway. She did not hesitate to stab him with her bare hand and let him fall to the ground in his own blood. After the girls lost consciousness after seeing him die in front of them, the Demon Queen told them that her name was Waldalia before she left. But she was surprised to hear him speak to her, and when she turned towards him, she found that he was still alive and approached her. He then told her that she hated someone so much that she resorted to stabbing and remembered that he had almost stabbed someone in the past and even sent a threatening letter to him. Waldalia was even more shocked when he put his hand on her face and told her that he felt for her and asked her to tell him because of the sadness in her eyes. She was scared for a moment and summoned her dragon to run away, ignoring everything he said, while Sensei lost consciousness as soon as she left. After some time, Molds manages to get the 3 of them to the church, and the priestess is surprised to see them unconscious. When she tries to help Annette up, she tells her to take care of Sensei, who is seriously injured. The next day, he ends up taking a heady dose of poison to die after Priestess Yisha miraculously saves him and ruins his attempt to die peacefully as usual, while Annette asks her if she has ever heard of an otherworldly woman named Sakshan. She replied that she had never seen a woman with that name in her temple. Curious as to why Annette was traveling with someone from another world, she scolded her for leaving work unannounced and that all people from other worlds were not good people to hang out with. While they were talking, they were interrupted by a transplanted idiot who looked like 50 Cent in the early 2000s, and when they ignored him completely, he started demonstrating his newfound ability to produce an unlimited number of this world's currency. Yisha grabbed a handful of money and threw it in his face and yelled at him not to interrupt their conversation, forcing him to run away, telling Annette that he was the perfect example of being wary of scum like him. Yisha warned her that Sensei was toxic and would destroy her if she stayed with him any longer. She told her that she wouldn't be the person she is now if it weren't for him, and that he was the reason for her change in fate. When Yisha asked her what power he had, she told him that he had no power, and surprisingly, he risked his life in front of the Demon Queen even though he had no chance against her. Yisha told her that the Demon King had already been defeated by someone else a week ago. Tama was relieved to learn from Annette that peace had finally come to their world, but she wondered who the Waldalia who attacked them yesterday was, since the Demon King had been defeated on the same day that Sensei came to this world. While they were talking, Sensei fell to the ground and asked them to write on his tombstone tombstone that he was the man who had spent his life tearing up the pages of his pen's mistakes. Annette thought he was writing down their travels together, but was shocked when he said he hadn't written anything about them. Then he kept thinking about why he felt so creative when he saw Waldelia and wished that something would happen to stimulate his senses so that he could write. So Annette thought they should go out and hang out in the city for a bit, as she wanted to buy some things for him. Sensei ended up tied up after Annette put him in an iron armor for soldiers and knights and told him not to move or be harmed until they returned, and while he remained still, the children examined him like a new statue. Then Yisha came across him on her way and approached him and told him that Annette would stay with her from now on because she didn't trust him and didn't want her friend to end up unhappy because of him. He told her that Annette was the only one who could decide whether or not to accompany him. When he asked her why she was sure that Annette would be unhappy with him, she replied that she doesn't trust people from other worlds like him, and while they were talking, they were surprised by a great procession of the hero who defeated the demon king named Suzuki and became the focus of everyone's attention as a savior. He then announced to everyone that the demon king had been killed by a group of people from another world and that it was time for a new era to begin with them leading this world after helping to spread peace in it, and expressed his intention to take over the rule of this city. Kaoru then pointed at Annette and told Suzuki that she had used violence against him moments ago, and although she tried to defend herself, he approached her and scolded her, then put his hand on her head and decided to punish her in front of everyone. Suzuki manages to tame Annette and turn her into a puppet with his magical powers. When Kaoru begins to taunt her, Tama tightens her grip on him, telling her that it's too late and that her friend has become Suzuki's unconditional slave. She became furious and was about to kick his but ended up as a puppet next to Annette after Suzuki used his power on her. Yisha intervened and scolded him for using the power she taught him in this way and told him that their city would not submit to the likes of him. He threatened her that he would destroy the entire city and build a new kingdom for himself. He then ordered his animal followers to attack the civilians around him and cause chaos. He then told her that he would use her church as a fortress before leaving her surrounded by his monsters. The monsters began to burn buildings and landmarks, and Tama began to attack Sensei's armor unwillingly, while he calmly watched her take his deadly medicine until she was able to destroy the armor, at which point the helmet flew off and hit her head, causing her to fall unconscious. Sensei put her in a barrel, sealed it, and wrote a warning that there was a wild cat inside, then found Yisha under a thunderous attack next to him and told him that this is the reality of people from other worlds. They use the abilities they gain for their own benefit, and this time one of them lost control of himself after being consumed by greed. When Suzuki described that he was a quiet, weak-willed man when he came to the world, he felt inspired and started writing down everything she said. Then he asked her about his current location to head towards, and when she told him that he had no chance because he lacked strength, he told her how he felt that he would succeed in writing a masterpiece. She decides to accompany him to make sure he stays alive. When they arrive, she begins to complain about his provocative indifference. Sensei pulls out a bottle of poison from his pocket. She thinks he has a plan, but soon realizes that he was going to drink it and becomes frustrated when he finds it empty. She told him that they had no choice but to surprise him and sneak in through a back door, but he completely ignored her and entered the front door to find Suzuki waiting for them. He told him that he was someone who was interested in him and wanted to write a novel about him, and Suzuki was proud of himself, thinking that Sensei wanted to tell his heroic story about conquering another world with his power. Sensei told him that he wanted to write a story about a man who gains more power than he deserves and drowns in his own ambitions, which he considered a profoundly human experience. Suzuki didn't hesitate to use his monsters to finish him off, but Yisha pushed him away and successfully fended them off until there was only one left. That monster pounced on her, trying to devour her while Suzuki targeted them with a long-range attack. Before the monster's fire could reach Sensei, an iron helmet appeared out of nowhere and reversed the attack against him, which turned out to be the work of Mellows, who can reverse magic spells. Suzuki resorted to using his most powerful monster and ordered it to attack him directly. As soon as the monster bit him, his body was saturated with poison, and he soon died in front of his trembling eyes, fearing his unexpected strength. When Yisha tells him to surrender, he decides to play his trump card and forces them to fight their friend Annette. Yisha tries to bring her to her senses, but Annette attacks her and decides that they should retreat and not risk harming her. Sensei approaches her and tells her that Annette is not as weak as she thinks she is. Suzuki tells him that no one can break free from his power and that she will live as a slave for the rest of her life. He tells him that this is her decision alone. Suzuki was furious and ordered her to finish him off immediately. When he used his power on her intensively, she couldn't resist his magic. She saw herself as if she was trapped in a small bird cage and Sensei had come to free her, so she stuck the dagger in herself instead of attacking him. Suzuki was shocked that she went against his will despite his superior sheer strength and found that he had no choice but to take his own life. As soon as he grabbed the dagger, Sensei rushed towards him and stopped him from committing suicide so as not to end the story he was writing about him early, then looked into his eyes and asked him to tell him the whole story. Suzuki was horrified when he looked into his eyes and remembered his miserable life in the previous world, where he was bullied by his schoolmates and used to get beaten up and treated like a puppet. At that time, Suzuki thought about suicide countless times but never had the courage to do it. In the evening, he was on his way home and was hit by a drunk person who made him distracted by the road and ended up dying after being hit by a truck. Then he moved to the world of Zauberberg and met Isha as his guide, and she told him that he was chosen to defeat the Demon King with his newly acquired ability. And at first he had difficulty taming the monsters until he created a large army of them and felt the pleasure of being the one who controls those around him. And when he discovered that his ability works on all beings, he began to use it on anyone who hurt him by word or deed. He marveled that he went from a person who had suffered a great failure in his previous life to a hero with superhuman strength. So he decided to use that power to achieve his personal interests and to avenge what happened to him in his previous life, although he ended up just a nobody and weak-willed after he failed to become the source of evil. After Sensei finished writing his story, he felt satisfied with himself and told him that he had finished writing his story and decided to call it a story that is no longer allowed in another world. And when he wrote the name of the story in his blood, a sudden force was activated from his notebook and the papers began to fly around Suzuki. Sensei then thanks him for helping him write a novel that satisfies him after a long hiatus from writing, though he can't call it his absolute masterpiece. And when he tears off a single sheet of paper, everyone is surprised that the others are burning around him. Then a large teleportation circle appeared below Suzuki, and he ended up fading away after Sensei sent him back to his home world again. When Yisha and Annette checked his stats, they found that he had gained the ability to write stories, which is only activated against people from other worlds. Sensei lies on the ground, frustrated that he failed to write his masterpiece again and wonders if he'll ever find someone else to move him, while Yisha realizes that he's been summoned to this world to fight those from other worlds. Meanwhile, the civilians were surprised when the monsters left the forest after the disappearance of their master, and Tama came out of the barrel, having no idea why she was in it. Then Sensei asked Yisha to bring him a special coffin with a distinctive shape. After a while, Sensei had a sleek black coffin befitting his dark personality, and when Yisha saw Annette next to him, she told her that he would likely play an important role in the future of their world and asked her to accompany him on his journey and support him at all costs. Before the three of them left the city, Yisha wondered if what happened to Suzuki was because he had gotten more power than he deserved, or if he would return to live a miserable life in his world, to which Sensei replied that it was ultimately up to him to decide how his main story would play out. A few days later, Yisha goes to the Santic City Temple and finds the priest Wolf greeting her while drinking wine and telling her that he has a hard time dealing with dwarves on a daily basis because of their foul odor. Elton interrupts him and tells him not to make racist remarks about the creatures living in their city, and that it has nothing to do with gender, as there are many elves who treat their own kind inappropriately. Wolf was furious and told him that he was lucky that his city was always at peace, which is why he was promoted to Archbishop. Cardinal Miller then joined them to convene an emergency meeting of the priests, and before they started, Priestess Aria arrived late and ended up falling to the ground after tripping over her own steps. Miller then told them that Annette's new replacement would be in charge of the Temple of Aerston. As each of the bishops began to report on the area he was responsible for, he asked Wolf about the disputes between the gnomes in his city, and he told him that this was so common that he had been beaten when he tried to mediate between them. Yisha then told him about what happened a few days ago in Vale, when Suzuki attacked civilians with his monsters. Miller told them that he had summoned them to discuss those from other worlds, and that the Pope had decided to seal the magic circles and not accept any newcomers after the defeat of the Demon King. Everyone was relieved that they wouldn't have to take care of them anymore, but that feeling quickly turned into shock when Miller told them that the 7 heroes who had defeated the Demon King had taken over his castle and become the new rulers, vowing to conquer the entire Zauberberg territory. Then he added that the Pope is confused because he has given his love to all those from other worlds because they were summoned to save the world but ended up turning against him, but they will consider this a declaration of war against the World Church Helsen, and they have to find Waldelia, who has been missing since the defeat of her father, the Demon King. Elton felt bad because he never expected that people from other worlds would become their enemies. They thought that if they joined together, they would be much more powerful than the Demon King. As they thought of a way to fight back, Yisha remembered the power that Sensei had recently gained. When she told Miller about what happened a few days ago and Sensei's power to bring people from other worlds back to their home worlds, they couldn't believe that such a power existed, but everyone was surprised when the Pope joined them and expressed his interest in Sensei and asked her to tell him more about him. Annette and Tama decided to stay in a village close to their destination, and while Annette was checking the map, they came across a boy who offered to help them with some information and showed them the location of the nearest inn. They were curious to see what he could do for them and were surprised to find that he was offering a hero's service. He would hire someone from other worlds to escort a group of people who lacked strength or combat abilities for 40,000 Geniko. Annette gets excited and asks him to hire a brave warrior to accompany them, while Tama tells her that they don't have that kind of money. When Annette thinks that this amount is nothing compared to Sensei's safety, the boy thinks that they mean the body in the coffin and want to protect it. As he was convincing them that it would be in the best interest of their dead comrade, he was shocked when he heard Sensei's voice behind him to tell him that he was still alive. He immediately stepped back and thought he was a zombie, but Tama told him that he was a hero from another world, and he did not believe it for a moment, as heroes do not have a face like the rust of a sword, as he said. He then took the money from Annette and set out to find a new hero to accompany them. Before he left, he told them that he was called Nir, and Tama was excited to have a new member join them so that she could be free from pulling Sensei's coffin as they traveled. Hours later, the three of them sit waiting for him inside the inn. Sensei tells them that the boy is not coming back. When the innkeeper learns that they are waiting for Nir, the girls are surprised that they have been scammed by a boy, as the lady tells them that he has never met a hero in his life. Sensei wants to know more about him, and the innkeeper tells him that he is an orphan who started living in this city some time ago and makes money by scamming visitors from time to time and is a nuisance to their city. She then adds that she doesn't believe in the heroes he claims to know, as he would have been saved if there were any. Meanwhile, Nir is sitting under a bridge inspecting a high-quality weapon when he ends up being kidnapped by a group of people who surprised him from behind. When he asks them what they intend to do with him, they give him suspicious looks and start approaching him. He threatens that his comrades from other worlds will not allow him to be harmed, and then the gang leader Kyutaru tells him that they are a group of people from other worlds as well. Then he called him an evil child because he uses their names to scam people and take their money, so he decided to punish him and take his life. Nir realized that the heroes are not as good as he expected, and before Kyutaru could make up his mind, Sensei appeared out of nowhere and forced him to injure his subordinate instead of Nir. Glasses checks his stats and is confused when he realizes he's from another world like them, but when he sees that he only has 1 health point and his body is poisoned, Kyutaru gets cocky and decides to punish him by giving him a taste of suffering before he takes his life. Sensei becomes excited when he learns that they want to finish him off. The glasses are shocked to see his HP suddenly increase as he approaches them and realize that he is suddenly on a rampage, while Sensei laughs at the idea that he wants to get rid of him with his pathetic weapon. Then he pointed at his heart and told him to aim there. They realize he was just a freak and had no choice but to run away, which made him feel frustrated. When Nir asked him if he was a hero, he told him that he was not great, as all people from other worlds are. Before he left, he told him that adults are people who have been betrayed, that he was still a child and not ready to become an adult, and that he should look at himself that way from now on. The next day, Sensei and his companions got ready to head to Grand City. He was sleepy because he hadn't gotten enough sleep, and when Tama asked him where he went yesterday, he didn't care to answer and closed the coffin on himself. When Tama gets angry and orders him to return the money he stole, Nir tells them that he didn't lie to them about presenting them with a brave warrior, and it turns out that he intends to accompany them on their journey as an apprentice swordsman. Sensei and his companions end up in prison when they arrive at Tama's hometown, while she is transferred to another place, and Nir thinks about the crime she committed before she left, while Sensei is only thinking about the way people are executed in this world and begins to see death close to them. Nir tried to use his skills to escape from here as quickly as possible. When he succeeded in breaking the lock on the cell, he was surprised by Sensei's reprimand. They were soon discovered by the guards, and the three of them were tied together with the same ropes, and Sensei wanted to make sure that they would really be executed. They were then taken to see Minister Briard, who assured them that they would be executed for kidnapping the city's Princess Matilda. King Siberian told them that this was the most appropriate punishment. When Annette tried to deny the charge, they were shocked to see Tama enter the room dressed as a princess. Then it turned out that her real name is Matilda, and she is the daughter of King Siberian, and she told him that she was not kidnapped, but that she was visiting many countries to improve her martial arts skills and met them while traveling. She then asked her father to release them immediately, but he refused to do so for free and told her to swear never to do anything foolish again and to behave properly as a member of the royal family. So she decided to comply with his order for the sake of her companions and then apologized to them because she would not be able to continue the journey with them from now on. Sensei was depressed because he had not been executed as he had hoped, and Annette tried to comfort him while Nir enjoyed his meal, thinking that he would never have guessed that Matilda was actually a princess. Annette remembered that she had always treated her rudely and argued with her about the simplest things, so she was not surprised that she was sentenced to death. When the waitress listened to their conversation about Matilda, she told them that her name was Kojika and that she used to work as her maid in the royal palace. Nir tells her that they used to to travel together until the king forced her to return to the palace. While Sensei is curious to know more about her and prepares to write down what Kojika has to say, Annette felt it would be rude to dig into her past after learning the truth about her identity, and that they should keep calling her Tama so as not to draw attention to themselves. He told them that he didn't care about her social status and thought she was an interesting woman, and that he should write her story himself. Meanwhile, Matilda looked up at the sky and wondered what her companions were doing, then remembered that Sensei was the only one whose expression didn't change upon learning her truth, and realized that someone was standing on the roof of their palace. The king and his guards are surprised to find that the palace has been attacked, and a mysterious person sitting on the throne tells him that his name is Kaibara, one of the heroes who defeated the Demon King, also known as the Fallen Angel of Gluttony. Siberian asks him what he's here to do, and Kaibara tells him he's here to devour the entire town. When the guards attack him, a giant jaw appears out of nowhere and Kaibara devours them with it, but they don't taste very good. He then told Siberian that he wished to eat the flesh of young hybrid women. The king decided not to let him leave the kingdom alive and prepared to fight him face to face. Kaibara didn't hesitate, but Siberian managed to get close enough and stun him with his own blow. Despite this, he pretended to be badly damaged in order to surprise him with a surprise attack and told him that his body was made of steel by eating a number of golems before coming here. Siberian decided to unleash his full power and told him that he would wipe him out with one blow. Before they could continue their clash, Matilda interrupted them and Kaibara felt that he had found his match, while Matilda, realizing that it was the person she had just seen on the roof of their palace, decided to support her father in fighting him, but he forbade her to take risks and told her that she could not replace her brother. Kojika tells Sensei and his companions about Matilda and that she had a twin brother named Leon who was the favorite to succeed his father as king of Gryan, and that everyone felt safe with them together and that they were the ones who would ensure the peace of the kingdom. But 10 years ago, Leon died with his mother Lapama after an accident on their way back to the palace, and since then the king has been depressed and sad for a long time, and Matilda decided to take the role of her late brother and asked Kojika to cut her hair like him to make her father feel that he is not alone. In the meantime, Siberian tried to convince Matilda not to get involved, as her martial arts are useless, but she didn't listen to him and rushed towards Kaibara when she was shocked to see his giant jaw ready to devour her. So Siberian pushed her away and paid for her recklessness by losing his arm. Matilda got angrier and jumped at him again, but Brayard had to intervene and force her unconscious to take her away, and Kaibara decided to save his main course for later and enjoy his current prey, now that he was in a vulnerable position after losing his strongest hand. Afterward, Brayard heads to a safe area and encounters Kojika and the others and tells them that she is unconscious, and when they learn of Kaibara's invasion of the kingdom, everyone is surprised by a loud explosion inside the palace. Kaibara announces to everyone that he is the new king of this country and has come to devour all the various hybrids living here, especially the women and children. When one of the civilians threatened to beat him up when he came down here, he ate him on the spot, forcing everyone to keep quiet and deciding to target hybrid men, especially those with families. When they all ran away, he told them not to try because he had placed monsters from the Demon King all over the city. After he left, Sensei finished writing down everything that had happened and saw that Matilda had a disastrous story. After some time, Matilda regained consciousness after having a dream about her mother and then realized that she was inside Kojika's house. When she went outside, she found everyone waiting for her, and after they told her what happened, she wanted to go to beat him, but Brayard stopped her from rushing back, and the others advised her not to go, as her father himself was no match for him. She thought that her father had been defeated because he was trying to protect her, but he had to take the responsibility of protecting the country in place of her brother Leon. She was surprised when Annette mentioned the incident in Clolan Pass that caused the death of her brother and her mother, and told her that she remembered how the news of their deaths had affected the people of the city who loved their family with all their hearts. She then warned her that the people would fall into despair if they lost her as well, and told her to rely on them as they had a secret to defeating those from other worlds. She then set out with Sensei and Nir to confront Kaibara and drive him out of this world. When they got to the palace, they found 2 guards preventing them from entering because they were ordered to get rid of anyone who came here. So Sensei approached them and claimed that they had come to be eaten after being moved by the new king's speech, and because he wanted to die so badly. The guards were confused by his boldness and his desire to be killed by Kaibara and kept thinking about what to do about him, and soon he ended up locked up with his comrades again, and when Annette blamed Sensei, he told her to stop this insulting behavior and then approached Nir, grabbed his hat and told him that it was his turn to get them out of the cell to start his plan. Matilda remembered when she was young and used to watch Siberian train Leon to fight, and when she was excited to fight with them, Leon tried to convince her that it was not just a game, while Siberian told her to act like a princess and go wear a dress that suits her. Matilda went to Lapama, feeling angry that she had been scolded enough and wishing she hadn't been born a princess so she could learn martial arts. In the present, Matilda went to save her father and confronted Kaibara. Upon seeing seeing her, he felt triumphant that his plan to lure her to him using Siberian as bait had worked and decided to have a little fun with her before devouring her. He then distracted her to get close enough to stun her using her father's technique, then told her that his ability enables him to gain abilities based on the flesh he eats as well as steal his victim's original abilities, then expressed his intention to crush her using her father's techniques and then devour her immediately. On the other hand, Sensei and his companions were sneaking into the palace and were surprised to find him heading to the queen's room and searching it thoroughly. He soon found a special book in one of the drawers and felt that this was what he was looking for. Meanwhile, Matilda was beaten severely by Kaibara, who showed no mercy and scolded her for not listening to her father, telling her that her martial arts were useless against him. As she suffered downstairs, she remembered when Leon practiced for a long time in the forest. When she asked him one day why, he told her that he had to work harder than anyone else because he lacked the talent to become as strong as their father and become a prince who could protect her and the kingdom. Siberian tries to convince her to give up and run away, but she follows her brother's example and thinks that he wouldn't give up if he were her. Kaibara mocks her determination and tells her that she will add a special flavor to her flesh when he eats her. Then he remembered his miserable life in the original world, when he was almost dead. While he lived a luxurious life without lacking anything, yet his heart was empty, and he felt no desire for anything around him. And one day he thought of doing something crazy to make him feel alive. He stabbed one of the servants with a fork and caused a deep wound in her arm, and found that there was no change inside him, and since then he began to seek his pleasure in hurting others who were inferior to him until he ended up dead after being hit by a truck. After he was transported to this world, he was able to eat anything he wanted on his own free will and no longer felt unhappy. He started to eat Matilda immediately, but his jaw stopped moving when Sensei appeared in front of him out of nowhere. Sensei told him that his story was disgusting and he couldn't stand to hear it any longer, while Kaibara marveled that his instincts refused to eat this person. Kaibara ends up trapped by Nir and Annette, and when she asks Sensei to use his power to send him back to his home world, she is shocked by his categorical refusal, as he considers bragging about the crimes he committed unworthy of writing. Kaibara, enraged by the way he spoke of him, unleashed his full power and vowed to get rid of them all before he devoured Matilda. When Nir was knocked unconscious by his attack, she felt that everything that was happening now was her fault for insisting on fighting and taking her brother's place. When she started crying, Sensei approached her and gave her a book containing her story and asked her to read it. After she opened the book, the pages began to splash in front of her, and he told her that he realized that she was a good girl who suppressed her true feelings inside after knowing her past. He then added that she was troubled in the past because her father saw her as a perfect princess and decided to take her brother's place to lift his spirits. But what happened was that the rift between her and Siberian grew, and she lost sight of her true self. Then she remembered what her mother had told her, that her life was hers alone and she should live it the way she saw fit, that even her domineering father wanted her to be happy. Then she found Sensei telling her to live her life the way Siberian wanted, or to live the life of a perfect prince in Leon's place. When she was confused, he told her that neither path was hers. Matilda was freed from her restraints, and it was up to her to tell the rest of her story as she wished. On the other hand, Siberian was shocked to see her activate the power of the divine beast within her. Matilda remembered that it was Leon who first learned of her power, but she told him not to say anything to their father about it because he was opposed to her martial arts training and would not be happy if he knew about her powers. Siberian, on the other hand, was eavesdropping on them behind the tree and decided to keep it a secret. He realized that he had inadvertently sealed her powers because he wanted to protect her from danger and considered himself a foolish father. Meanwhile, Kaibara confidently told her that she couldn't defeat him even after she awakened her powers because he was a predator whose fate was to consume livestock like her to satisfy his instincts. But Matilda didn't care and decided to fight of her own free will no matter what. Before he could use his ability, she rushed towards him and surprised him with a cat's distraction skill, then gave him a headbutt that shattered his head and then targeted his body, and he ended up falling to the ground, unable to believe he was being defeated by cattle after his internal organs were torn apart. After she realized he was dead, she collapsed and fell into Siberian's arms. Annette took care of her while Sensei returned La Palma's book to Siberian, who expressed his gratitude for saving Matilda and guiding her, telling him he had done nothing but write his novel. After his departure, Brayard joins him and tells him that his daughter's technology is still incomplete, even though she was able to defeat someone as powerful as Kaibara, and they are shocked that he is still alive and has transformed into a monster form after fully integrating his instincts. When they questioned why he was still alive, he told them that he had secretly eaten the Demon King's flesh after getting rid of him, and it was time to awaken his latent power. He then proceeded to use a super magical ability to eliminate everyone everyone at once. But before he could do so, he fell to the ground after Waldelia appeared out of nowhere and cut off his head to avenge her father. Seeing her, he wanted to provoke her even more, and when he started talking about the moment he ate her father, she used her full magical power to wipe him out. Sensei was still alive, and when he approached her, he asked her if she felt satisfied now that she had avenged her father's death, and she vowed that he would be her next victim before flying off on her dragon's back. Sensei thought that Keibara was just a lost and sad person, and even after Waldelia got rid of him, she was still sad, and he felt the desire to write her story one day. The next day, he prepared to leave with Annette and Nier after Matilda decided to stay in the city to support her father. Siberian, on the other hand, was furious that she stayed in the palace while her companions prepared to leave and asked her to accompany them as he is not old enough to need the protection of an untrained novice like her, and told her to return to the palace after completing her journey. Feeling grateful to him, Matilda takes off her dress and jumps out of the window to catch up with her companions before they leave, promising her father that she will become a strong fighter like him when she returns. After Matilda returned to her companions, they continued their journey around the world and reached the largest tree in the Zauberberg world, and she told them that it is the largest tree in the world, and it is a sacred tree that offers protection to all who visit it. Sensei was not impressed when he saw the tree, so Annette told him that below it was the town of Tonarico, famous for its tranquility and peaceful people, and in the evening they reached the city below the tree, and then Annette and Matilda were shocked that it had become a bustling city similar to Las Vegas in our world, while Sensei was shocked to find that his tranquilizer had run out. Annette thought to go talk to the mayor to find out what happened to the city. The mayor told them that the city had undergone a drastic change since some people from other worlds came and settled in the city, and then set up a gambling casino in the center of the city and took away the peace and tranquility of the city. Because of this, the world tree began to weaken little by little, and its leaves began to wither. Then he asked them to restore the city to its former state, when they were interrupted by the voice of a mysterious person who looks like a knight who decided to save the city and the world tree from danger after he listened to their conversation. Then he told them that he came from another world called Yamada, and that he is different from the rest, as he seeks peace. Matilda wondered that there is a person from another world seeking justice, while Annette agreed to support him without hesitation. Then they were surprised that Sensei disappeared without warning. In the meantime, Sensei was dissatisfied with his good physical condition and his agile movements, as he used to suffer from poisoning before his medicine ran out. Then he found a hole at the top of the hill that made him suspect that something was going on inside. When he went inside, he found a group of people in a relaxed state while smoking drugs. He felt happy to be in a toxic environment that could help him die quickly, and asked them to share some of what they were using. A mysterious girl appeared, touched his face, and told him she would take him to a more pleasant place. He ended up in a bar drinking excessively, and when the woman noticed, he told her he wanted to drink himself to death. Curious as to why he entered the cave full of addicts, he told her that he wanted to get some painkillers or maybe poison so that he wouldn't suffer from insomnia after his body recovered from the effects of the tranquilizers. The woman approached him and told him that she would help him sleep soundly by dancing. He wasn't convinced that watching someone dance was so wonderful, but when she got up on stage and started dancing, he was kind of attracted to her. On the other side, everyone was worried about his sudden disappearance. Suddenly, a red-haired woman entered the house carrying him. Annette was shocked to see her, and the mayor scolded her for coming here again after he had kicked her out last time and called her Esh. She tells him that she only came to pick up Sensei after he fell asleep and left immediately. When Matilda asks him about her, he tells her that she is known as the Witch of Tonarico and is the one who won the favor of the people from other worlds who occupied the city after she opened a bar next to their gambling casino. Then he added that she's basically just a mysterious woman who lives on the edge of town, and they don't know much about her, so they leave her alone because she's harmless at first before discovering that she's a con artist who makes a fortune by seducing people from other worlds with her dancing and booze. Yamada thought that they should punish her as they intended to do with the occupiers of the city. The next day, Sensei decided to spend the day at the Esh Tavern, and when Annette told him that the war between them and the occupiers of the city would soon break out, he said that he didn't remember accepting such a difficult task. Yamada stopped her from trying to get him back, as he had already been infected by the witch's fascination and was thinking of destroying the source of evil in this city to bring him back to his senses. After arriving at the tavern, he thanked Esha for her help yesterday, as he had forgotten his painful life thanks to her. She warns him that he shouldn't come here because she's known around here as a witch. He tells her that's exactly what he wants. She finds him interesting and tells him to pray that the spirit of the world tree will protect him from his painful life. He didn't understand what she was saying, and Eshe began to tell him the legend of the spirit of the world tree that comes down at a certain time to grant salvation to the weak and sick and grant them their wishes. He wondered if she wasn't looking for salvation herself, and that was the first thing that came to his mind when he met her. As she was surprised that he noticed her dancing and expressing her sadness, then they were interrupted by a group of scumbags who told her to bring them lots of drinks. Then one of them entered, taking some people as hostages, who turned out to be Kyutaro and his companions. The guy threatened to bury them alive if they didn't return the money they owed him before he let them out to fend for themselves. He then sat down with the boss and suggested that they move the casino to another location since the profits have been declining lately, but the boss thought that maybe they should attract people from across the bridge instead. All they have to do is lure them in and show them how great gambling is and how fun it is to smoke the pain-relieving leaves of the world tree. As she interjected and reminded him that he had promised her that he would only allow people from other worlds to play in the casino and leave the townspeople alone. The boss told her that he had to do it for his business and that it would increase the money she made from him. As she protested, saying she paid him a lot for protection so he wouldn't hurt people on the bridge. He ignored her and ordered his henchmen to go solicit some of their new customers. When she tried to stop him, he pushed her hard against the counter. Sensei approached her and told her that people like her were not called witches in the world he came from and that he considered her an angel. Suddenly, everyone felt a violent earthquake, and when they went outside, they found Yamada and the others had demolished the casino and turned it into a pile of rubble. As soon as he saw them, Yamada drew his sword and decided to teach them a lesson and drive them out of town. Before they could attack him, Sensei appeared among them and addressed him, telling him that he had ruined the fun he had been having lately. Yamada called him a disgrace who came from another world and told him that he was busy unlike him and that he should wake up and think about what he really needed to do before it was too late. Sensei told him that he never thought about changing his lifestyle because someone lectured him and that he didn't respect those who lectured him. Yamada decided to show him what the right thing to do was, and he was able to crush his enemies with just one blow amid the amazement of his comrades and force the leader and his followers to retreat and flee far away. Then he thought Eshi might want to fight him, but she expressed her gratitude to him for saving the city. Then people began to gather around him and cheer him after he became the savior. When they noticed Eshi's presence, they remembered that she was the traitorous witch who chose to collude with the invaders and began to blame her, and soon they began attacking her with stones and demanding her departure from the town. Sensei realized that all worlds are the same, that their inhabitants are just a bunch of worthless garbage, and stood in front of the people to defend her and asked them if this way they retreated was the only one who kept fighting to protect the city alone. He then began to tell them that she had been courting the villains in her bar every night to keep them under control, and none of them harmed their town, and if not for her efforts, they would have been persecuted and discriminated against after the villains invaded their town and described her as their true savior. None of the townspeople believed him and thought that he was just a man who was infatuated with the witch, and that's why he defended her. As she gave up and decided to leave and apologized to him for causing trouble while Yamada stood there in shock. When Sensei asked if he knew all this was going to happen, he replied that the line between justice and evil was blurred. But one thing was clear: this city had abandoned its protector, and he left quietly, followed by his companions. The mayor approached him and asked him to guard the city so that no villains would invade and ensure that Eshi would not return again. Soon, the world tree would flourish, and they would be able to recoup their losses by selling its leaves, and he offered him 10% of the profits. Yamada broke down as he remembered Sensei's words about good and evil, and felt that he had ruined things instead of fixing them, while Sensei and his companions continued their journey to the next city, and suddenly everyone was shocked to see the world tree dry its leaves without warning. Then Sensei was surprised by the appearance of Eshi in front of him, and it turned out that she was the spirit of the world tree and gave him the ability to find peace in his life. And after her departure, he found that she had given him the soothing pills that he wanted so that he could sleep. After several days, they all began to feel exhausted by the hot sun and thirst, while Sensei emerged from the coffin and begged the scorching sun to turn him into a mass of ash. Then they found themselves in a large desert with no clear signs of a road ahead of them. Annette checked the map and thought about taking the shortest route to the Drighton Temple, but Nur told her to rely on him as he was originally from the desert, and while he was reviewing his valuable information about how the desert is usually safe during the day, they were shocked when a group of mercenaries appeared in front of them. The pink-haired Toru, the leader of the hunters, greets them and tells them that they are about to enter the land of the hunters and will have to pay a fee to be allowed to cross. The girls are furious and decide to resort to violence and start kicking his henchmen's one by one. Toru decides to target Sensei, as he is the weakest among them, and when he approaches him on his bike, he finds Nier about to draw his sword despite his fear, realizing that he has never used a sword before, and Nier tells him with confusion that he is a brave warrior. Toru agrees to face him man to man, and warns him that if he draws his sword, he is ready to die, and vows to give him a painful death in less than an hour with his scorpion venom. Then he is surprised to see Sensei suddenly energized and approaching him to receive the painful death he is talking about. Feeling confused, he tells him him that this is not a threat and then injects the scorpion venom into his chest and injects it profusely, but the scorpion ends up dying instead due to receiving a huge amount of venom, leaving Sensei frustrated. Toru was furious after the death of his scorpion, and when he rushed towards him, Nier wanted to draw his sword and confront him, but his body refused to move out of fear, and before Toru finished them, they heard a wolf howl nearby, so he had to retreat with his remaining men and vowed to avenge his scorpion later. After that, Nier felt sad because of his fear and weakness, and Matilda noticed it and tried to comfort him and told him that they would rely on him next time, while Annette took care of Sensei, so Nier went to him and apologized to him. Sensei told him that no one is a hero from the beginning, but one becomes stronger after being ridiculed over and over again, so Nier decided to make up for his lack of fighting by showing them the right path. They ended up heading towards a small old building, an orphanage, and Nier told them they would be staying here for the day. As he approached the orphanage, they found many children greeting him warmly. Mrs. Kathy greeted them by setting a large table for them to eat as much as they wanted and told them that someone had been donating food to them lately. One of the children asked Nier if the reason he had come back was because he had become a brave hero. Confused, he replied that he had become one after becoming a member of a heroes group. When they were excited to find out which hero he had become, he pointed to Sensei, while Sensei told them that he was just an author who wrote stories. He decides to tell them a story about a man who took on his friend's debts and ran away after squandering his money, but Kathy tells him not to tell children that kind of story. At night, Nier and his companions heard the howling of the monster again while the children were asleep. Kathy told them that it was a hungry wolf that had been roaming this area lately, and she locked the door tightly and warned them not to go out at night lest they die. Meanwhile, Sensei continued to take his medicine like candy outside the orphanage, and when Nier tried to sleep with his companions, he panicked when he saw a shadow hovering over the place. He grabbed his sword, shivering, and headed outside, and soon screamed in fear when he saw someone suddenly pass by. Nier thought it was a thief, but the person told him that he was not suspicious, and when he saw him collecting the food that he dropped, he realized that he was the one donating food to the orphanage. The person told him that he likes to see the smiles of children, and when he asked him why he donates secretly, he told him that he feels very happy just to see everyone enjoying the food. Then the donor noticed that he had never seen Nier before inside the orphanage, and he looked like a new child, so he told him that he was a traveler now, but he belonged to this place originally after his parents died, and he only inherited his father's sword and decided to travel to become a brave warrior worthy of carrying this sword someday and to make his friends from the orphanage proud. As he was expressing his feelings, he found the donor crying with emotion and told him that his parents were now proud of him and that he wished he could be as nice as him, and asked him to tell him the stories of his travels. In the morning, the donor decided to leave after giving him the day's food, so Nier offered to have breakfast with them, and although the donor was happy with the suggestion, he preferred to support them from the shadows and told him that he didn't deserve to have a meal with them. Nier decided to return the favor in another way and helped him collect more food and water, and when they returned, they put it in front of the orphanage and hid behind the walls, while Sensei was suffering because the children wanted to play with him forcibly. At night, Nier was sleeping peacefully. Then everyone was surprised when Kathy burst into the room to tell them that one of the children named Nate had been kidnapped by a group of hunters and found Toru standing outside holding him and demanding that the orphanage owner pay him money because the desert belonged to the hunters. Matilda decides to confront them with Nier and Annette. When they come out to confront him, Toru decides to avenge his scorpion on them and orders his men to attack them all at once. As the two girls begin to engage them, Nier remains standing there, unable to save his friend. The food donor tries to pull him to safety and he collapses, blaming himself for being too much of a coward to help his comrades. The donor has memories he doesn't want to remember and decides to take over for Nier. Before he left, he told him that he had lost something precious to him in his old world due to the weakness of his legs, and Nier was shocked to see him transform into a huge wolf and realized that he was the hungry wolf that Kathy had talked about before and told him that he now had the power to eliminate the mercenaries who cause grief to people like him. When Toru thought of escaping, he jumped towards the hunters and began to devour them one by one, tearing his body apart with his teeth as he felt the pleasure of the revenge he would never get on those who had caused the death of his best friend. Meanwhile, Sensei was taking notes, while Nier realized what the wolf meant when he told him that he wished he could be as nice as him. He then had the courage to draw his sword and rush towards him to stop him from pouncing on Toru. The wolf almost attacked him, so he decided to drop his sword and fight him with everything he had. The wolf imagined that he saw his friend in front of him, which made him feel confused and returned to his human form again without remembering anything of what he was doing. After that, he returned to the orphanage with Nier and told them all his tragic story in his old world, where he used to live alone from a young age after losing his parents and becoming a cripple. And one day, a young man reached out to him and defended him against some bullies, which was the first time in his life that he felt kindness from another person. They lived happily together for a while, but it didn't last long because the bullies came back again to take revenge on his best friend, and he couldn't protect him, so he just ran away. And while while he was running away, he ended up dead after being hit by a truck. Even after coming to this world, he still remembered that day and wished he could have acted to save him, but Sensei realized that he preferred to turn events in his favor. When he asked him if it was just his legs that couldn't help him, the man was confused. Sensei tells him that he was looking for an excuse to cover up his cowardly mistake. Nier rushes over to him and tells him to stop blaming him. He tells him that not everyone is as strong as he is and that he understands how he feels because he is a coward himself, but he is doing his best not to run away next time. The man approaches him and tells him that he is not a coward after he stood up to him in wolf form to save someone else from death despite his lack of strength, and tells him that the title of brave warrior describes people like him, while he is just a coward who only knows how to make excuses. Sensei then used his power to send him back to his old world and told him that he was nicer than anyone else regardless of his cowardice because he used his power to protect the orphanage day and night, and before he left he thanked everyone for bringing them food every day. When the man returned to his original world, he found that he was still alive after being hit by the truck and was surprised to find his friend helping him and calling him Sato, and he started crying, regretting that he chose to run away while his friend was still helping him even when he needed it. A few days later, the city of Dretton goes to war against an army of desert monsters. Yisha scolds Wolf for drinking too much during the war instead of leading the army, and when she expresses her displeasure with him, he asks Doran to lure the enemies towards the eastern flank. Doran refused to take orders from scum like him and continued to crush his enemies one by one. When he saw that things were getting worse, he decided to lure them to the east as Wolf had told him. As soon as the enemies gathered at a certain point, Wolf used wind magic to create a thunderous storm that killed them. The commander of the enemy army decides to retreat with his remaining soldiers for the time being. Before Wolf and Yisha turn back, they are shocked to see Sensei's coffin flying through the air due to Wolf's storm and that he accidentally hit it, while Sensei thinks he's finally getting the death he's been panting for. In the evening, the Gryon soldiers celebrated their victory over the intruders, and Doran blamed the church for the people from other worlds causing trouble on their world, and that the church should thank them for cleaning up their mess. Wolf then joined him and told him to stop abusing his boss because he had enough on his plate, and the priests were dragging out the bad guys from the other worlds without his help thanks to the efforts of the dwarves. Yisha, on the other hand, was happy to see Annette and her companions again, telling her that they had been through a lot on their journey to get here, and when she asked about Sensei's current situation after being hit by the storm, he appeared out of nowhere behind them and told them that it was unfortunate that he was inside the coffin that prevented him from having a comfortable death and that the storm had caused it to shatter. Wolf then joined them to apologize for accidentally injuring him, telling him to reflect on his failure to end his life properly and expressing his gratitude to him for giving him a near-death experience. When they wondered why he had unleashed the storm, Yisha told them that their country was currently at war with one of the 7 who had defeated the Demon King, and Matilda proudly proclaimed that she had managed to defeat one of them in her homeland. Wolf thinks she's confused or lucky to be facing the weakest of them and is furious at his disdain. She tells him that their group is very powerful, and when she mentions Sensei's ability to send people from other worlds back to their home world, he tells them that the Pope showed interest in his ability as soon as he learned about it. Then he added that he doesn't think they need this power because it's useless against his own magic. Before he left, he told them that he intends to get rid of the 7 intruders on his own, and Nier felt that he was just being arrogant. Yisha tells them that he is known as the Storm Sorcerer and is one of the most powerful sorcerers in the world, so much so that the 7 who defeated the Demon King are not considered his equals. On the other hand, the Batman-like Sengoku returns to the Demon King's castle, intending to participate again in tomorrow's battle and vowing that he will not be defeated this time. The bartender suggests that he let the woman on their side handle tomorrow's battle, which turns out to be Sensei's former lover Sakshin, and considers involving their ally Yuriko to ensure victory over their opponents. Meanwhile, Sensei notices that Mellows is depressed because he is in love with Wolf's bird. He looks at the red thread in his forearm and remembers Sakshin. He decides to help him search for his beloved to see her again and tells him that they are both the same, being fools who wander the world looking for a woman, and decides to name her Memelis. As they were wandering around, they came across Wolf on their way with Memelis, and many girls gathered around him. After he left, Sensei decided to follow him for Mellows until Wolf arrived at a certain house and kept knocking on the door without anyone answering. Sensei realizes that he has a girlfriend to chase while she ignores him. On the other hand, Wolf promises the girl inside the house that he will return from the war alive, so Sensei decides to turn back and give him some privacy. The next day, the city is attacked from the east, and Doran decides to teach them a hard lesson this time. When he goes out with his soldiers, he starts tearing his enemies apart, while Wolf supports them with his wind magic. Then a dragon appeared out of nowhere and started attacking them all. all. Yusha realized it was the legendary dragon that was once controlled by the Demon King, while Wolf got cocky and thought he could beat it easily. Duran was surprised to see that it wasn't the leader of the intruders riding the dragon. When the dragon got close enough, Wolf was shocked to see that the dragon was being controlled by his former student Yuriko. He couldn't attack her, so she took it away and prevented Yusha from attacking her, promising to take their lives later. Afterward, Yusha told everyone what had happened, and Duran was furious that their army was under pressure and that relying on a rogue like Wolf had hurt them and could lead to the eventual fall of the castle. On the other side, Sensei noticed Memeli's grief over the loss of Wolf and told Melos that he should use the opportunity to get close to her and comfort her, so he had the confidence to go to her, while Sensei decided to go to meet Wolf's girlfriend to learn more about him, and when he knocked on the door, he was surprised when an old lady opened it and found it more interesting. On the other hand, Yuriko arrived at the temple with Wolf as a hostage and told him that she preferred to come here for the nostalgia of their memories together in this place. When the priests realized that she had kidnapped Wolf, they prevented her from entering and ordered her to free him, so she had to use force to force them to step aside. Yusha remembered that he once had a passion for training people from other worlds and guessed that Yuriko was one of his students. She then ordered Duran to send soldiers after them as soon as possible. Duran desperately told her that he didn't have any more soldiers after their army had suffered heavy casualties, and Matilda suggested that she and her comrades take over the task of retaking Wolf and fighting the Otherworlders. They were surprised to see Sensei join them with an old lady in his arms and thought he was having a good time with her while they were at war. The next day, Matilda and her companions prepared for their mission after obtaining new equipment from Duran. While Sensei asked them to wait a bit until the item he ordered from Duran yesterday arrives, he told him that the craftsmen were confused because the item he ordered was very specialized and they couldn't finish it in time. Matilda approaches him to beat him up, but he tells her that he didn't come to fight them and that he has changed since Nir saved his life and now runs a bus company by day and protects the orphanage by night. When he noticed a wild tiger wandering near them, he used his superpower on it. As soon as he touched it, the tiger turned into a huge bus and invited them to get on to take them to their destination. When it was Sensei's turn, he kicked him away and told him to spend his life grieving for the scorpion that caused his death and took off at full speed, leaving him behind. The old woman approaches him and begs him to take her to where Wolf is. He is surprised by her sudden emotion and urgency to see him and decides to help her since she is doing it out of love. After Toru and the others arrive at the temple, they find the priests in dire straits and realize that Wolf is inside, so they decide to rush to save him before it's too late, and upon entering, they find him hanging with Yuriko sitting in front of him. Then she told them that she was his former student and not to disturb them while they were spending their private time. Then she summoned her followers to attack them, so everyone joined forces to fight them, but by the time the skeletons managed to do so, one of them pushed Yusha towards her, curious as to why she hates Wolf even though he is her mentor and what happened between them in the past. She remembered Yuriko when she was training under him, and he told her one day that her abilities were not suitable for fighting, and to comfort her, he told her that she did not have to fight the Demon King and could live a normal life, but she insisted on confronting him for the sake of Yusha. He told her not to exert herself too much, and that he trusted that her powers would blossom one day, and she lived happily in his company until a girl just like her named Hikari appeared, and he became obsessed with her and devoted all his time to her education after seeing her talent, and Yuriko felt that he had changed with her and no longer cared about her. She devoted herself to training on her own to defeat the Demon King and get Wolf's attention again, but what happened was that he came to believe that Hikari was the one qualified to defeat the Demon King. When she heard him tell her that he had been waiting for her for a long time, she became jealous, awakening her latent powers and deciding to bury Hikari alive in the darkness of her power, leaving Wolf behind to mourn the loss of his favorite student. Yuriko thought that her power would have been trapped inside her forever if this hadn't happened and decided to summon her greatest monster to annihilate them all at once. As Wolf yelled at them to run away before she could attack, Sensei stormed into the temple with his new coffin, which was both a bed and a car, behind him. He approaches Yuriko and finds that she looks very much like Hikari. When the old lady joins him, Yuriko is shocked to see her and turns out to be the old version of Hikari. So Sensei tells her that he has just finished writing her younger sister's story and now it's her turn. To everyone's surprise, Yuriko and Hikari are actually sisters, and Sensei tells them what the younger sister told him and how they were a close-knit family with their father, and Yuriko used to take care of her sick sister from a young age. He then expressed how touched he was by her kindness upon hearing their story and considered her to be like like a holy mother. When she surrounded him with a group of her followers, his comrades effortlessly crushed them. Then he approached her and told her that he couldn't die before he finished writing her story. When Hikari tries to convince her to listen to them, she tells her that she's not the good big sister she thinks she is, that she basically hates her for taking her life, that she was happy when she ended up in this world and thought her life had finally begun, but then she shows up and takes it all away again. So she decides not to let her get in her way again, and she will get everything she wants. This draws Sensei's attention even more to the story, and as he continues to write down what she says, she gets angry at him and decides to get rid of him, but Wolf saves him and takes the damage instead, causing half of his face and right hand to wrinkle up like he's suddenly old all of a sudden. Sensei asks him not to interfere because he has no part in the love story he wants to write. Then he approaches Yuriko and asks her what she wants. She doesn't hesitate to make her followers attack him viciously, but he continues to advance despite this and tells her that he wants to write down her true feelings. Yuriko stopped attacking him after looking directly into his eyes, then recalled her past life when she saw a group of her classmates with their parents on graduation day while her father took care of a sick Hikari and paid no attention to her. After he left, she asked Hikari if she wanted to close the curtains a little to dim the light, but soon found that she had fallen asleep. Seeing a father praising his daughter through the window, she decided to put on her school uniform and head to school to feel the graduation atmosphere a little. When she returned in the evening, she found the lights on in the window and rushed inside to find the doctor on his way out after talking to her father about Hikari. When she asked her father about her sister's condition, she was surprised to find him slapping her and accusing her of going out to play and neglecting her sister, who was on the verge of death. Then he violently ripped off her headband and went towards Hikari, treating her with kindness. This caused her to feel sad and unwanted in the house, so she decided to leave. On her way, while she was lost in her dark thoughts, she was hit by a truck and ended up in another world. She then told Sensei that she wanted to live her life like any other girl her age, but that desire almost cost her sister her life and repeatedly endangered her again when she attacked her in this world and thought she wasn't worthy of being a big sister because of her greed and ugliness. When she started crying, Sensei realized that she wanted someone to care about her and told her that everyone wanted the same and that she wasn't as greedy as she thought she was. Hikari rushed over to her and hugged her tightly and kept apologizing. Then he told her how Hikari ended up in this world, where she noticed her disappearance after she regained consciousness and waited for her to come back for days and weeks. And when she gave up on the idea of coming home again, she decided to go out and look for her herself and ended up dead after being hit by a truck. Even though she's old now, she continued to follow her until she came to this world just to see her. And that's when Yuriko realized how much she loved her and that she was a fool to treat her so cruelly all this time. Meanwhile, Wolf realized that he was a failed teacher and remembered when he first saw Hikari. Yuriko received her warmly and felt happy that she would no longer suffer from any diseases. After some time, Hikari asked him to devote his time to training her to defeat the Demon King in exchange for allowing Yuriko to live her life freely because she had taken it away from her in the past. As the two sisters embraced, Sensei used his power to send them back to the original world together to complete their own story. When Yuriko's power was destroyed, everything returned to normal and Hikari became her normal age. Before they left, Yuriko apologized for the trouble she caused everyone and thanked Wolf for everything he did for her. After they left, Hikari woke up in her bed and found Yuriko opening the curtains. She felt like she was inside a very long dream, and Yuriko was curious to know what it was. The enemy forces retreated in front of Doran's army after the departure of the sisters. At that time, the Pope learned about what Sensei had done with his power and realized that he is the long-awaited savior of this world, and as the rest were preparing to leave the temple, they were surprised when Sengoku appeared in front of them. After defeating Kaibara and Yuriko, Sengoku decides to take matters into his own hands. So Wolf decides to take the lead this time and use his power to confront him, but he is surprised to find that he is still standing in front of his storm because magic does not work against his armor. When Matilda fell in front of him and he summoned his sword to finish her off, Nier rushed in front of him and blocked him with his sword, causing Sengoku's sword to shatter, and he decided to retreat when he saw his sword and told him to sharpen his skills. In the evening, Doran celebrated the victory of his army in the tavern with the others. Yusha expressed her happiness that the sisters got a happy ending, while Wolf was confused as to why they were called here and if they were happy in their world now, and doubted whether his role as a priest in this world was right or not. On the other hand, Sakin continued to wander among the corpses until she reached the castle while Sensei was helping Melos to approach his beloved, and when he was rejected, he returned disappointed, so Sensei tried to comfort him, and on his way, he was shocked to see Sakin pass by him. Sakin stops and expresses how happy she is to see him again in in this world. While Sensei can't believe his eyes and says he has a lot to tell her, but they'll have to repeat the double suicide experiment together again. He then walked to a ledge and prepared to jump. He was surprised to see her walk away from him, telling him that he had changed a lot since they last met, that there was a light shining in his eyes and that he looked energetic, and she felt that he was not the Sensei she knew. Sensei tried to convince her that he hadn't changed and was wandering this world like a sewer rat looking for her, but when she saw his companions heading towards them, she realized that he had found something better than death and left after telling him that she couldn't be with him anymore. When Sensei spoke her name, Annette realized that she was the girlfriend he had been looking for since he came to this world, and the next day she went to the head of the Roto's blacksmith guild with her companions to thank him for making their gear, while Sensei couldn't stop thinking about what Sakin had said yesterday. Nier asked Rotos to take a look at his sword, and when he took it out of its sheath, he told him that it was too great to carry at the moment and that he had to become a warrior worthy of carrying it. Then Sensei took the wheel of his bed cart after deciding to die today and rushed out of the workshop as fast as he could while his comrades tried to follow him. The waiter noticed that Sengoku seemed unusually happy today, and when Sakin joined them, he felt that she was in a good mood too. After they sat down at their round table, Sakin told him that he had no right to talk as he was just locking himself inside to watch what was going on outside. He wanted to know how she felt after meeting with her ex-boyfriend yesterday. She told him that he had the power to change the world and that she felt he was a wonderful person worthy of her. Meanwhile, Sensei's companions were frustrated after they lost track of him. Then they find a man who tells them that they are in the village of Held, thinking that they are lost. He says that he heard that the hero they are looking for is heading towards the castle of the Demon King. When he shows them the statue of the hero built in the center of the village, he tells them that a thoughtless man ran into it while driving his carriage at full speed and reversed his direction. When they asked Sensei where he was going, he told them that he had gone to the shrine at the edge of the village, which is the only way to the forbidden land of Orange. They were worried about him, but the countryman told them that he would have to pass some tests to be allowed to enter. Sensei, on the other hand, hears a voice telling him to leave because he won't be able to pass the tests, so he sleeps in his coffin to stop the voice from speaking in his head and ends up passing all the tests by running them over with his carriage. The rest of them were relieved to find that there were difficult tests that prevented him from entering the city, and the rustic told them that he would return soon if they waited for him, as only the hero could pass the tests, who received the blessing of the fairy queen who lives in the Forbidden Land. Annette thought that he might somehow pass the tests, while Nier and Matilda didn't imagine that scum like him could do it. While on the other side, Sensei reached the Forbidden Land after he accidentally penetrated an invisible force. He found himself sitting on the chest of the fairy queen, who told him that he was the second human to reach this place. He thought he had died and was in heaven, but twins appeared and told him that he was in the land of the fairy queen and had to kneel in front of her. Sensei had no idea of the etiquette of speaking to royalty. When the queen realized this, she told him that her name is Oberus and she grants protection to those who reach this place, as the fairies seek to bring peace in this world to those who deserve it. Then she asked him a question as a final test, and when she gave him a choice between trusting others or absolute power to save the world, he remembered that the person he had trusted had abandoned him and he wanted to die more than ever. He tells her that he doesn't care about world peace after losing his other half. The fairies are confused that he's not taking the current situation seriously, while one of them realizes that he already has the protection of the world tree spirit and that he's not an idiot. Oberus asked him about the blessing Eshi had given him, and he told her it made his tranquilizer pills infinite. One sister felt like kicking him out of their land for being useless, while Oberus wondered why Eshi had chosen him. Then she thought that a hero had come here and received her protection, but failed to bring peace to the world, which led to chaos everywhere, and the line between good and evil became blurred, and she didn't think that Sensei coming to her land was wrong, but rather that the world had led him here. She grabs his wrist and tells him that he will be reunited with his beloved at the end of his journey, and that she has no intention of asking him to save the world, but that he should live longer and continue his journey because that's what the world wants him to do. Sensei felt that she was trying to cheer him up in some way and expressed his gratitude for her kindness. She gave him a whistle and told him to blow it when he was in trouble to get the power of the fairies, and that it was a parting gift for him, and then took him out of her land to go back to the world again. Nier wondered if Sensei would continue his journey after being rejected by the one he was looking for, and before Annette could think about it, he suddenly descended at full speed towards them, destroying the village statue. When he realized what he had done, he used the whistle to summon a fairy and asked her to repair the statue, and she was forced to do it on her own while he left, leaving her behind to clean up his mess, and decided to continue his journey to reunite with his beloved again in this world.